So we start with this question: what did you prove to yourself, and how happy are you about the new album?
I'm pretty damn stoked about the new record, to put it bluntly. It was a really, I mean, the whole process from, I did my last solo record and I met Myles Kennedy when I was making that record and had no idea that I was going to go on and make another solo record down the line. And he turned out to be such a great singer that I ended up taking him on the road and I put this great band together, you know. And for a pickup band, it had this amazing instantaneous chemistry, and the guys are really cool and very laid back, and everybody just wants to jam, and it's just a lot of fun, you know. And they're fucking amazing players. So, you know, while I was on tour, I thought, well, if I was going to make another record, these would be the guys to do it with. So I wrote a bunch of songs with Myles, and when the tour was over, we got together in a rehearsal studio and worked the songs up, and it just, the songs came together great, and we went in the studio and we did this whole thing live. And it just was one of the most rocking times I've had in the studio in a really, really, really long time. So it's been good.
So you did all the lyrics. How much do you care about the lyrics? Because I mean, in rock and roll, lyrics are not that much important, I would say.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Sometimes.
I personally hate writing lyrics. It's because I think I don't, you know, I mean, I can sit here and do an interview with you, but I'm not much at communicating. I don't like to talk a lot. I don't especially don't want to express my feelings in song, right? So I always leave it up to a lyricist, you know, whoever's singing. And Myles is a really good lyricist, so I can tell if you're listening to a song that has really bad lyrics, real cliched, stupid lyrics. I hear it instantaneously. But if a song's got really good lyrics, they just sort of go by, and you sort of just go along with it. Even in a really simple rock and roll song, the lyrics are very important. They have to embody the vibe of the music, and they have to seem sort of part and parcel. Like, you can't have lyrics that say one thing and the music saying something else. Anyway, so yeah, lyrics are important. So
what would you say about Myles' voice? Because he nearly ended up in Led Zeppelin reunion. What's so unique about that?
Well, that's what, you know, funny you should mention that, because you're the only person in the last 3 years that said that.
Just like a compliment from you, or not?
Well, that was the thing. You know, I heard about Myles in roughly 2002, when we were doing Velvet Revolver, and it wasn't even Velvet Revolver yet. It was just Matt and Duff and Dave Kushner and I. And we hadn't thought about Scott, and we were looking for singers. And Matt brought up Myles Kennedy, and at the time, Myles was in Mayfield 4, I think it was. Some band that he was in. I'd never heard of the guy, never heard of Mayfield 4. And we sent him a demo tape, and he said, great. He never sent it back. He never sent, you know, you put vocals on it or show up to audition or something. And we never really heard from him again. And so we ended up playing with Scott, and years go by, and when Scott left the band, we started auditioning singers. Matt, once again, says, well, what about Myles Kennedy? And I was like, oh yeah, that's that name again, you know. But, you know, it's just in one ear and out the other. And Matt contacted him, and at this point he was in Alter Bridge. And so he was like, you know, I'm committed to these guys, and I wouldn't want to, you know, betray my bandmates by going off with your band. So it didn't happen. So fast forward again some more years, and I'm doing this record. And I keep hearing this name, Myles Kennedy, and then I hear that Led Zeppelin had recruited him for the tour. And I thought, this guy has to be good. So I contacted him about singing on my record, you know, and that was like in 2010, no, 2009. So anyway, so that was the beginning of a long, you know, I don't know about how prosperous it is, but it's definitely been creatively very progressive, and we've done a lot of cool stuff.
I must say that on this album there are lots of different styles. Even I would say classical stuff and then bombastic solos and some hard rock solos. I prefer the romantic side, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder how much the solos reflect your personality as a person, musician.
Well, when we were talking earlier, you know, I don't, you know, verbally it's not my forte, you know, but I managed to. I think I put all my thoughts and feelings and all my sort of emotional goings on in solos, and that's how I express myself more than anything. So whatever's coming out during the solo is exactly where I'm coming from emotionally at the time. You know, that's why I love playing live so much, because it gives me a chance to vent stuff day in and day out. It keeps me out of trouble. You know.
I'll read your books, I know what you mean. And I just wondered, because you mentioned the playing live, and a couple of years back, I guess it was like a bottle of vodka before the show. Now, what's your ritual before the show? Maybe you do something different.
I don't really. I mean, it wasn't really. I guess a bottle of vodka. You call that a ritual?
Oh no, sorry.
No. I mean, it could be considered a ritual. It was definitely every night. Nowadays, you know, I get to the show and I just play, and I just, you know, I think part of the reason for the vodka every night, besides being an alcoholic, is just to sort of calm your nerves, because I'm very high-strung when it comes to playing. I'm very get very nervous, and so I think alcohol sort of helped to dull that anxiety. So now, before I do a gig, I just play a lot just to calm myself down and warm myself up, and so I spend an hour at least before a show just sitting around. Whatever I'm doing, I just keep my guitar with me. You know?
It's best friend, I guess.
Yeah. Well, when I quit doing all the other stuff, fortunately, instead of picking up some other stupid habit, I just channeled all that energy into the guitar. So that was where, you know, people always have to, you know, one bad habit deserves another kind of thing. So mine just went right back into the guitar. So.
And I just wonder, because reading your book, and you got such an artistic parents, and I would say that they groomed you very well for rock and roll fame. And so how come that you had to enjoy it with excesses of alcohol and drugs? Why not be, you know, like your parents?
That came, I was doing all that stuff before I started in a rock band, because that was the kind of teenager I was.
LA stuff, you would say?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we used to party a lot and so on, and then so when I started playing guitar, it was, you know, obviously it was rock and roll, it all just sort of fit together, so it just sort of became one and the same.
And I wonder, because when you're doing your solos, it's very emotional. Sometimes you're just, you know, going down on stage and stuff. Did you suffer any injuries during your wild solos and stuff?
What do you mean injuries during
my
wild
solos? Breaking like something, or just sprinkling in the leg?
No, I mean, I haven't really. I've never hurt myself so much that I had to stop playing that I can remember. You know, I bang myself up. I damage my guitars more than I do myself, actually. Yeah. It's true.
And I just wonder about your scary moments, because in this book you said that you had a couple of scary moments, like close encounters with death. How do you remember them now, when being like wiser and older?
How do I remember them now? I mean, you know, in hindsight, they're no big deal. Even at the time, they weren't that big a deal. But now, when I look back on it, I just consider myself, I guess you consider it fortunate and grateful to still be around, considering how many times I put myself through that and ended up coming out of it, you know, and so I've been really lucky, you know. But that's about it, you know. I sort of don't dwell on the past, I sort of just move forward.
Well, I understand, sure.
Yeah.
What would you say, because reading the book, you were not really a great student, as far as I know, right? And you were not very much into school stuff, like drawing and stuff, maybe.
Right. I was a good student if I had a good teacher, but the way that regular curriculum at school was, you know, I didn't have time for it.
That's nice, you didn't have time for it. And I just wanted, sometimes don't you think that you need lack of education, that we would love to know more about things? Don't you think that sometimes it creeps into your mind?
I actually picked up a lot in school.
Yeah?
Yeah, but, you know, and I read a lot, so it hasn't been a hindrance. I'm not one of those people. In other words, I applied myself in school, and I learned a lot really quickly, and I didn't quit school before I'd at least done a lot, you know, learned. It's hard to explain, you know. And I was always an avid reader, so even though I wasn't, say, getting A's in history class, I was reading way beyond history class anyway. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, but what about your reading? Because it's fascinating, because it doesn't really, you know, pop up in this book that often that you're such an avid reader. What sort of stuff you're into?
I don't know, like
over the years.
Well, over the years. I mean, you know what? I'm a Graham Greene fan.
Graham Greene.
Yeah.
Serious stuff.
I'm a Kurt Vonnegut fan. I mean, I'm a lot of different authors. You know, I'm reading. What am I reading right now? I'm reading Kim right now. You know, so there's all kinds of stuff.
All over the place.
Well, you know where it comes from is my dad was very well read, very learned individual. So he started me reading before I started going to school. And that was always the greatest source for information. So that's something I picked up from him. And I still go to him to find good books. But I was always a Rudyard Kipling fan anyway. So. But I always go to him for good books. So whenever I go on a tour, I have my dad to go to and a couple good friends to find some really great books that, you know, and also because I hate going to the bookstore and rummaging through things.
Too lazy for that.
And finding classics sometimes you can't find on iTunes or...
True. And I just wonder about your spirituality, because it doesn't really pop up. Maybe you should go to discover yourself more, to go to India or to Tibet, or...
You know, I was raised around, my mom was very spiritual. And so to some extent, there's things that I believe in, there's things that I think, you know, it's human nature to be scared and lonely and looking for something to grab a hold of, and I don't believe in a lot of organized religion. But at the same time, you know, I might not believe in something, but I might believe in one of the principles of it, you know, whatever. So there's certain spiritual aspects of things that I believe in. There's certain things that I just think are a little bit blown out of proportion, you know, as far as religion is concerned. So I don't talk about it much because I think everybody's entitled to their own, you know, spiritual beliefs, and I don't like to put them on other people.
Which is very kind of you. And this, the kind of discovery for me from reading this book is that you're very good at lots of things, but somehow it's very difficult for you to live a normal life. How would you comment on that?
Lead a normal? I mean,
no, like not gigging, not touring, not just just being home.
Because you know, it's funny. You know, I have my domestic side, which is at home, and I've got my kids and my wife, and I love them all very dearly. But I just can't sit in one place for too long. I'm very independent, so I have my, you know, I see something I want to do, and I just go and do it. And that's sort of just the way it is. So, I mean, you know, it comes from being nomadic for so long. It's really hard, something hard to get rid of. But I mean, I think more so than ever in my existence up till now, I can appreciate taking, you know, coming home after a fucking long ass tour and chilling for a minute. But, you know, before long I'm ready to go. You know?
In the book you said that you are an eternal teenager. Would you think that you would ever grow up?
It doesn't look like it. I mean, you know, I picked up some additional responsibilities along the way, but I'm pretty rooted in that sort of
Peter Pan
active mentality and just sort of going after stuff and sort of this fearless teenager thing. You know, I don't know.
And you mentioned your sons. You figured that it's going to be London or Cash going, you know, your footsteps, just playing guitar, picking up guitar?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, they're going to be 8 and 10 this summer. And they both express a little bit of interest in instruments. They both like music, but one of them actually plays piano by ear, which is really interesting. They both have they hear things properly. But I think that's something that it just, you know, either it'll happen or it doesn't happen. He tinkers around, but then as soon as we went to give him lessons, he quit, right? But he's a really great drawer, and it's the same thing that I did when I was his age. I was an illustrator, and now he's illustrating and painting, and if he keeps going down that route, he's going to be really good. So I'm sort of just encouraging, without pushing him, to just keep doing that. So we'll just, you know, kids develop how they develop, you know.
And what about your drawings? Because I think that your brother was doing some stuff and artwork for you. What about your skills? And did you still draw sometimes?
I've been doing designing. I did design the Apocalyptic Love cover.
Oh.
I did the last cover idea, the Guns N' Roses logo, Velvet Revolver, all that stuff. I've been doing it all along. I just do it. I only do it when it's necessary. I doodle a lot, but I usually do the most drawing when something needs something. You know, so something for the band, flyers, posters, whatever it is, T-shirts. I do my own tattoos, you know, that kind of stuff. But I don't just sit around and draw something and put it up on a wall and go, here it is, you know. So I'm not like that.
So what is your creative life, being nearly 50? How would you define the motto, you know, the creed?
I don't have a creed. You know, I do what I do. That's basically it. You know, I don't have any kind of set philosophy that I advocate to anybody. I just sort of too concerned with just doing what I need to be doing.
How come that you didn't come to Poland yet?
We will be next year. Well, because the last tour was all thrown together bit by bit, and I don't even think the Poles knew what the hell we were doing. you know, because
we do know.
We do now, yeah. So this next time around, I think we'll be coming over and people will be like, oh, okay.
It's a promise.
Yeah.